Hey everybody, this is Dan with Pain Free You. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Linda from Indiana. And Linda was in my group coaching program and she has volunteered to do a success story conversation interview, if you will. So Linda, welcome. Thank you so much for being willing to share your story and hopefully help others and inspire them and show them what's possible with this journey. So good to see you again. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
Why don't you introduce yourself and take us on a
Well,
journey?
okay. My name is Linda, and I have been away from Dan's group now for about 6 months and doing well. Um, so I guess I wanted to start my talk off with my symptoms of the
Mhm.
things that I um, dealt with, which
Sure.
are may not go into a lot of them, but the main one that I really had the most problem with was burning mouth syndrome. And it really changed my life. It actually started in the year of 2014. I can remember the month, it was April. And it was happening, or it happened during a time when I was having a lot of dental work done. I had silver fillings removed, and I had braces put on, and I didn't fear that. But toward the end, after the braces came off, he was putting a thing on behind my teeth to keep my teeth stabilized. And that evening, that's when it hit me. My tongue started burning so bad. I thought, what is going on? So my first instinct was that thing that he was putting in my mouth, my tongue, it was irritating my tongue because I couldn't stay away from it.
Mhm.
So, of course, I went back a couple of days later for the bottom one to be done. I said, nope, not going to do this because this told him the pain that I was going through. And he just kind of looked at me like, I've never had a patient to say that, you know. And I've
Right.
put these things on many patients, and no one has ever dealt with that.
Right.
So I said, well, I said, if that's it, I said, unless you can give me another reason why my tongue is just hurting. And by the end of the night, the only relief I could get is to lay down and be still. So he ended up taking off the one on the top.
Hmm.
And well, needless to say, days went by and the pain did not go away. So I
Interesting.
thought, oh gosh, yeah. And dental work was the only thing that could come to my mind because there was nothing else that I had done. And so when I went back to him again, I said, you know, something not right. I said, and I've got to find the answer. So he said, well, he took x-rays, found nothing. He looked at my mouth, nothing. And he said, I think we need to send you to an oral surgeon. So got that appointment. And when I went in, between that time and when I went in, I decided to Google burning mouth
Oh, okay.
and didn't like what I saw and
No.
what I read. Scared me. I don't even know how to explain how bad I was fearful.
Right.
So went to the oral surgeon and didn't tell him that I had Googled it, but I gave him all my symptoms and he made the comment. He said, I think you have burning mouth syndrome. And then I talked to him a little bit about it. And of course, he informed me at that time, 2014, there really wasn't much medical um, study on this particular problem.
Right.
So um, I said, well, is it possible that in my dental work, he may have hit a nerve when I was getting injections and things? And he said, well, it's possible, but probably not. And if it was, he said it probably would subside in months or a year.
Right.
So that was not really hopeful, but it was better than life.
Right.
And so I left there and went back to the dentist, and I still wasn't um, really wasn't sure that that was not the problem. I still was blaming the dental work because that was the only thing that made sense.
Yeah, it was that day.
Yeah. So I went back to him for my cleaning, and we had a game plan of all the work that was going to be finished up on my teeth. And I said, no more work on my teeth other than cleaning. So that went on till probably just since I've been off the group, I did go back and finish. So that was 2014. So here I am. I go to my physician and telling her, and I just she just kind of looks at me. Of course, she looks at my mouth, and I've been going to her for 25 years. Never was a sickly person, so basically just going to her yearly for my physicals.
Mm-hmm.
She said, well, she was trying to get more out of me. And I said, all I can say is that my mouth feels like I drank a cup of hot cocoa or hot coffee and it burnt the inside of my mouth.
Right.
And I said, and it won't go away. I said, the only time I can get relief is when I'm laying flat. I said, so there's got to be a cause to this. She had nothing. So she did do some blood work. And of course, everything came back normal. And I told her that I was really dealing with a lot of anxiety. She goes, was the anxiety before or after the pain? And at the time, I thought, well, it definitely was after I started getting the pain because I've always been a very calm person.
Mm-hmm.
So she gave me something for the anxiety. She didn't really want to, but she did. And that basically just kind of took the edge off of it. It didn't, and I didn't want any high dosage because I'm kind of not a person that wants to take a lot of meds. So I would say probably in the next 3 to 4 years, that's when I started going to all different types of medical fields.
Mm-hmm.
I had already been involved with a chiropractor for just alignment. I was going to him also for acupuncture because I also in 2009 was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis in my hands. And I was having a lot of pain there. But when I went to the rheumatologist over that in 2009, of course, she wanted me to put me on medication. And well, I did a little bit of studying and found that there were people that dealt with their arthritis with food.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did a little research on that, and that's the route that I chose.
Gotcha.
So the pain that I had once I got into that diet of watching certain foods, in fact, I followed the diet by your blood type. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Diet.
Yeah. And it seemed to take care of the pain. So that's what I stayed with. Then when I got the burning mouth, and after I was on my third physician, and the last physician I went to, he was a doctor of internal medicine. Well, he put me on, he said, he told me that I probably at this point should try to go on something for my hands. And I said, well, I can't deal with pain for my hands. Oh, kind of need to backtrack here. In those 3 or 4 years after I got the diagnosis of the burning mouth, I did a lot of research on it. I joined a support group that, looking back was a bad idea.
Right.
We can talk about that later, but I was just looking for answers. I mean, I just couldn't believe there wasn't a cause for this. There had to be a reason. And every doctor that I was going to just wanted to treat the symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I would listen to them. And so, kind of lost my train of thought here where I was going with this. After about the fourth different doctor that I went to, he changed my meds and he was very, very concerned, and he did more tests, more blood work. We went on a few supplements.
Right.
And it seemed to help somewhat, but still, I was still not, things just weren't getting better. Then I read,
I have a question. Did it affect your tastes at all?
oh my goodness.
I wanted to
Okay.
understand that because I'm working
Yes.
with somebody
Yes.
who has been told he's got burning mouth and his taste has been affected greatly.
Oh,
Curious as
I,
to your experience there.
okay. My experience that it started with the burning mouth,
Mm-hmm.
the hurting. Then it went to a dry mouth. I mean, my mouth was so dry. So then they tested me for Sjogren's, and then they gave me some medication, I guess, to get my saliva working. Well, when I started taking that, now I'm drooling and slobbering because it's just like, I was like, well, this is not working. So I quit taking that. Then it went into, I had a very salty, my saliva tasted like it was just salt. It was just a nasty taste, and I couldn't get rid of it. And of course, they still didn't have an answer for that.
Right.
But it kind of, and then another thing that it went to acidic. Then it went very acidic. That's when they sent me to a dietitian or a diagnostic person, and they were trying to get me on a certain diet and watch what I ate. Well, I had already kind of dealt with that with the arthritis, so I went with it. But then they started eliminating more and more. I mean, I was down to very few foods. I could no food that was acidy, no spicy food. Pepper was the number one no, and caffeine. Let's see, trying to think of all the things that I went off of, but
That's okay.
yeah.
We don't need
So
that full list.
yeah, I mean, it was a long list that I avoided. So I was down to probably eating under 10 different types of food,
Right.
no seasoning, and drinking water, and occasionally a little bit of, I did drink organic milk because I do love milk. But yes, the different, and then I started having gum recession. I mean, my gums were being affected by all the acidic. So it was kind of fascinating because at the same time, I look back on it because of all the different symptoms that I went through. I mean, the dry mouth. I went to a Sjogren's group and they were talking about all their symptoms. Well, I didn't have all those symptoms other than the dry mouth. So I was tested for that like 2 times and come back positive. Third time I had a new doctor to test me, and it didn't show Sjogren's anymore.
Right. And
So
Sjogren's is an autoimmune, correct?
yes. Yeah. So a lot of my symptoms did end up turning out to be a lot of autoimmune.
Mhm.
And you think about the arthritis, that's part of it.
Yeah.
So after about 4 or 5 different doctors, I finally decided to try a holistic or homeopathic
Yeah.
type doctor.
Mhm.
She was super nice, and she just knew she was going to cure me. I mean, she just knew that she could do it. Of course, she ran a bunch of tests. We sent off for all kind of tests that's possible, could cause anything.
Sure.
And all the results come back with nothing.
Nothing notable. Yeah.
Yeah. And on the support group, the things that I learned at the time I first started, there were probably under 500 members, and they were from all over the world. And it started off, I was hoping that because they were all looking for the answers, and they would say what they were trying, and they talked about, several of them talked about going to Mayo Clinic.
Mhm.
And of course, when they went to Mayo Clinic, there was a group of doctors that they formed, different fields, and they studied what was going on with them, and then they got back together, and all of them, there was not one of them that had went there that got any results. The only thing they got was to be treated for the symptoms with medication.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I'm not going there, because they were spending $5,000-$10,000, and insurance didn't pay for that.
Yeah.
So then they even had dentists who were trying to do research on this issue, and because most of the doctors that they went to
Yeah.
didn't know enough about it. So anyway, after about 3 years on that group, the number grew from under 500. It was up to about 4,000 when I left the group. So it was amazing. But my husband and my daughter said, you need to keep watching. You need to stop watching that, because it was really, and look backing on it, it was just flaring my symptoms because it was scaring me.
Sure.
I wasn't getting any answers. They weren't getting any answers, although they were looking and had doctors helping them, but nothing. So
Sure.
got out of that group, and I would not really advise anybody that's dealing with pain to get on those groups. I mean, for me, I was looking for an answer. I was kind of a desperate mode to find what was causing it. And if the doctors that I was going to hear couldn't help me, maybe this group that from all over the country, they would have found something. But
And that's the logical thing. People are saying, I'm not getting answers from the medical world. Let me talk to other people who have something similar and see what they've learned.
yeah,
The unfortunate part is you end up having a bunch of people who have not gotten better, who are equally terrified. And as they share the stories of their experience, they're terrifying other members,
exactly.
which is just compounding the fear and feeling of, holy cow, I'm broken with something they can't figure out, which is a
It left me hopeless.
devastating thing. Yeah.
And hopeless, of course, leads to fear.
Mhm.
And so after I got off of that, I continued back on my journey of trying to find more doctors. I went back to my doing the acupuncture, because I thought, because it seemed like I was always stressful. I was just always tense. So I thought, well, maybe that will help. It helped for maybe a day. I had a relaxing time after about a day. So I decided, well, that's not the answer either.
Right.
So I went to an allergist. The first allergist I went to, because my third physician, she didn't know what to do with me. So she said, well, let's see if maybe you have some allergic reaction to food. And so I went to the allergist, and she came in and she looked at me. She goes, and why did she send you to me? I go, oh, this is not going to be good. And I said, well, told her my story, or a short version. And I said, she thought maybe I'm allergic to food. And she looked at me, she looked at me as if I was wasting her time. So I knew at that point, I probably should have just left them. But she goes, well, I'll have my assistant here to run some tests, the basics.
Sure.
So they did a few. Of course, they all come back normal.
Hmm.
So I left there very discouraged. And so,
Question I had for you was there ever any reference to or hint that, well, maybe you've got some type of reflux or silent
oh,
reflux or anything like that?
yes, I went into that too. After the dry mouth, the salty taste, the acidic taste,
Mhm.
eventually I started getting acid reflux.
Did you actually sense it and you could
Yeah,
feel it,
oh
or
yes.
was it silent? Because some people are told it's that.
No, mine was I could feel it in my throat.
Okay.
And so, of course, they put me on some medication. And I believe, looking back at that, I think the cause of that had a lot to do with the food that I was eating. I don't think that I wasn't getting the proper nutrition that I probably should have been getting.
Yeah.
And I think certain foods that I was lacking was causing,
Yeah,
uh,
but keep in mind, reflux is often caused by stress. You're
well, yes, yeah, and
under
that's the other thing.
stress and fear and a feeling
It's
of I've got some broken
well,
problem. And when we're in the fight or flight stress response, digestion gets off balance,
yes,
suppressed. And so
uh,
all of the pain and the fear and the burning, all that stuff, in my opinion, likely had you in a chronic state of stress,
yes,
affected your digestion. When you pointed out dry mouth, guess what? When you're in the stress response, the digestion system is suppressed. Well, where does the digestion system start? Your mouth, saliva,
yeah,
digestive enzymes, but saliva. So if it's suppressing digestion, okay, it's not surprising that saliva had dried up.
yeah.
All right.
I'm just amazed at all the symptoms that I had
Mhm.
at different times, and it was kind of like we go from one to another, and they were all just a little bit different, but yet, but the stress, I'm totally agree
Very
that
so.
stress can do so much,
Mhm.
and so
So
after,
when did you turn the corner from the medical world and start realizing, well, maybe there's something else going on? Like, how did you
okay,
get introduced to this concept of mind-body symptoms?
yeah, well, I would think probably in the year of about my eighth year
Well,
is when I went to a second allergist. I thought, okay, this other one, she really didn't give me the time of day. So I found another allergist. And he was really kind of my last resort. I couldn't think of another type of doctor to go to that was, you know, so I thought, well, that makes sense. If I'm allergic to something, my mouth, it would cause it to burn. So guy was super nice. I don't know if he, yeah, and I'm sure he felt sorry for me because I'm sure that I was probably crying in his office. I mean, after telling him my story, the tears were coming down. And so he was super nice. And he looked at me and he said, I'm going to run every test on you that I possibly can. He said, if you're allergic to anything, he said, I'm going to find out. I mean, so he gave me hope. Um, and so we did the test, and he had me to come back in. I don't know how long it was, a few days after that. And he said, I was hoping to give you some good news. He said, there is nothing that showed up. He said, I tested for everything. And he said, there's nothing. There's nothing that you're allergic to.
good news, bad news. Good news,
Yeah,
you're
it
not
was.
allergic. Bad news
Yeah.
is okay, now what?
Yeah. So I looked at him. I said, okay. I said, I'm glad that. I said, but something has got to be causing my mouth to burn. I said, I don't understand. I mean, my lips were starting to burn, my gums. I mean, it wasn't, it was just, I said, there's got to be a reason. And he said, well, I wish that I had the answer for you. And he said, if you were my mom he said, I would probably tell you to see a psychologist. And I kind of looked at him, he said, I don't think you're crazy. He said, I truly believe that you're in pain. He said, I don't mean psychiatrist, psychologist. He said, you need to find somebody that can help you deal with this pain.
Okay.
So I left there, and it really wasn't what I wanted to hear, but I thought about it. So when he said, deal with the pain, so that's when I went to, that's when I went to YouTube and I typed in healing from chronic pain. And that's when I started finding, I guess the first person that I saw was Nicole Sachs. And she had, I think I typed in burning mouth, and somehow or another she come up saying that she had burning mouth. She didn't go into any great detail.
Right.
And she kind of acted like it was no big deal, that I could get rid of it. But I'm thinking, no, this is a big deal. I've been dealing with this for 8 years.
Right.
And 9 years. And so I listened to what she had to say, and I thought, well, I have nothing to lose. So I started doing her journaling.
Sure.
And I can't say that I did it maybe a week. But when I first started, I thought, I've always thought that I had a good life. I really didn't feel like I had any really major traumas that I wasn't able to deal with.
Right.
So I thought, this is kind of a waste of time. So I did try. Then as I was doing it, I did start coming up with some things in my life that I thought, oh my gosh, I hadn't really thought about this. Sure. That may be causing the stress. And so, but the more I wrote, the more depressed I was getting. So I thought, okay, this is not helping me. So I thought, no, this is not. So I got back on YouTube and I listened to Dr. Schubner.
Yeah.
I listened to him. And then there was Alan Gordon. I listened to a couple things there. And then that's when I ran into one of your videos. And I listened. And that was it. I go, okay, this guy he's calm. He's making it sound so easy and and really went into detail about not that you didn't want people to go to doctors, but that if the doctors weren't giving them answers, then they need to find what's causing it.
Right.
And I think at the time you were talking about TMS, and then you talked about all the different people and everything. So I listened to a few of your videos, and I showed my husband. This was probably the end of 2022. Okay. So I started in 2014. So that was about 8 years, going on 9 years.
Sure.
And I showed my husband a couple of your videos, and I said, he's got this group, this video Zoom group that Coach. He has. And I said, I think I need to try this. And he said, well, go for it. You've tried everything else. And I must say, my husband was probably the biggest support thing that I had, because he went through a lot.
Yeah, all the doctor's appointments and everything.
The doctor's appointments, the pain, the food, finding food, helping me find food, eating what I was eating. It was a lot for him.
It's awesome.
So I guess I'm blessed for that. But Absolutely. So he encouraged me to join. Absolutely. And I think I even texted or sent you a message, email maybe. And I just told you what I had, burning mouth, and wondered if your work would help me. And you came back and said, yes, I think you could become pain-free. And that was the first time anybody had ever said that to me, that I could become pain-free. That was, I'll never forget that moment. Of course, you couldn't see me because it was emailed or text, but so I joined. It took me a few months. So I continued watching your videos, and it was kind of like I was trying to get the nerve up to join.
Mhm.
And so March 3rd, remember it very well. It's funny how you remember certain dates. I joined your group, and it was like, it was a group that, I don't know, you felt at home with, because I wasn't good at telling about my problems, but listening to other people and listening how you ran that group. It was just, I told my husband, I said, this is it. This is what's going to get me through this. And I don't know. I was in it at first I was kind of leery. I didn't speak a whole lot, but I listened.
Right.
And even though my pain was different from everybody else's pain, and we weren't able to really dive into our symptoms so that we flared other people.
Well, that's a good thing. We don't want
Yes, it was. It was a
purpose of the
very,
group's not to talk about symptoms.
oh,
It's to focus
yes.
on solutions, which is
Yeah.
teaching the brain. So,
When
uh,
I first heard that, I thought, well, how's he going to know how to help people if he doesn't know what they've been going through? Now, mind you, that's when I first got on.
mhm.
And there were a few people in there that did stir up flares, and you controlled that. I thought that was more, I was just in awe of how you controlled the group.
Well,
And then, so people did their wins. And then afterwards, you had a discussion, question time, and anybody could ask questions.
sure.
And it was amazing what you can learn, even though their symptoms were different. And you often mentioned that everybody's symptoms will be different, but it's still the same outcome. It's still, and then you started teaching about um, the methods, the 4 steps of,
Core
getting,
fundamentals.
yeah, on how to get there. First, you have to believe that what you have is TMS or PDP,
Mhm.
perceived danger. And then you have to accept that that's what you have. And then you have to make that decision to do the work.
Yeah, I can do this. Yep.
Yeah. And so it was almost kind of like it was so simple that I don't know. Anyway, so
It needs to be simple for people to understand it and make it
yes,
attainable. Now,
it,
that doesn't make the process that we go through easy.
no, and everyone,
Simple does not equal easy,
yeah, and
but
simple
the
does not
simplicity,
equal necessarily success right away. I mean,
we
a
gotta
lot of people want that quick fix, and they think
take
that,
time to teach the brain.
yeah, you have to do the work.
Mhm.
And if you don't, you're going to stay in that same stuck position. But I think after probably about 6 or 7 months, maybe in the seventh month, I started having times where, okay, this is all making sense. When I was having a flare,
Mhm.
stay calm, you know,
Sure.
don't let the fear come in, you know. And so that I started finding, if I could stay calm, redirect what was going on, do something that will change my thinking. Watch what I'm telling myself. Watch the words that I use.
Yep.
I mean, all those things were just so helpful. But the first time, I was out and about and I'd been running around and I was having symptoms. And the longer I was out, the more it was. And then all of a sudden I told myself, okay, what does Dan say? What does he say? Stay calm. And it was like the flare, the pain level, once I said stay calm and redirect, you know, things kind of just went lower. I go, it was kind of like a aha moment. I thought, okay, that's what he's been talking about.
We have influence over this stuff. It's not just random. We have
No,
influence.
yeah, it was a learning process. And then it became a practice process. Once you had that one experience, then you go, okay, then you go to the next step,
Right.
finding what you can do. Um, but I think the group, if I was going to say what helped me the most, was the group. Um, and your advice. I mean, you always had an answer and you were always so calm, which totally amazed me some days when there was 40 people on this group page and everybody was, I'm thinking, uh, I just was in awe of how you could stay so calm. But that
Oh,
was another message. That was another way of understanding. And the fact that you yourself had 13 years of pain.
mhm.
So it's not like you were trying to teach somebody and you'd never experienced anything. So you understood what these people were going through. And so all the little things that was in that group and the people, oh my goodness, I met so many friends and, things that they would say, you're thinking, okay, that makes sense. And the improvements some of them were going through. I mean, there were some when I first started, I thought, there is no way they're going to get better.
Right.
Seeing them bedridden. But by the end of the time I left, they were out and about. I mean, it was just amazing.
Yeah.
So my journey was long. I had a lot of pain. My family, they knew, I mean, my friends and my family knew that I had a hard time with eating. I was the person that had eating issues.
Mhm.
But I think a few of my friends and my husband probably were the only ones that knew the severity of my pain. Because my husband, once I was talking to a friend and I was just talking like everything was just great. And I got off the phone and he said, how can you be so happy? Like you're just doing great. And then you come in here and it's like, oh, I'm doomed. I got to lay down. And I told him, I said, they don't want to hear about all of my pain. It gets old. So I kept it from a lot of people as far as how much severe pain I was in.
Yeah. One of the things that I think you were doing it because you believe they didn't want to hear it, but also by not speaking about your pain, by not telling everybody how horrific it was,
Oh,
you were doing yourself a favor.
yeah,
Because if you're continually explaining how horrible you're doing, you're keeping yourself in that state of fear,
yeah,
perceived danger, and that could have delayed recovery or prevented it even.
yeah. Now that you say that, that was one of the things that you did discuss in the small group.
Don't
And
talk about your symptoms all the time,
yeah, and
as
yeah,
little as possible. To a confidant like your spouse, wonderful to have somebody supportive that you can.
yeah.
But even with our spouses, we don't want to be talking about it all day, every day.
Oh, that's right.
There's
I
two
mean, yeah,
things for the audience here, two things will keep symptoms going: fear and attention.
yeah,
So if we're constantly talking about our symptoms and using very colorful, scary language, we're fueling the fear and giving it attention. It's really hard for the brain to shut it off if you keep on saying, there's a fire in the building. and you're staring at it and talking about it all day.
Yeah.
So, you naturally ended up saying, I don't want to tell everybody because you knew they didn't want to hear it. And frankly, you probably got tired of telling that story yourself.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that turned out well for you. I'm sure
yeah.
part of the
Yeah. Looking back on it, that's very true
yeah,
because I remember the first 2 years that I was dealing with it. And I probably did, I was so emotional and crying all the time
yeah,
because I thought this was my life
forever. Yeah.
for the rest of my life. And I said, there were times where going deep depression because I thought this is not any way to live. So, um,
So tell me about the progression of things starting to change for you. Like you said, you were able to remain calm, don't panic, and symptoms kind of settle down while you were out and about. Um, did things shut off fast or over time?
I think for me, it was over time.
That's
Uh,
common. That's more
yeah,
than a turnoff. I don't see the turnoff very quickly.
yeah. I don't think I definitely, I mean, the first time that I had the lowering of the flare, when I remind myself to stay calm, I mean, that was pretty exciting. I thought that was a big win
Oh, and it was.
in itself. And then the other thing too was when we discussed about the eating. I mean, the eating, I was fearful of eating anything that was on that list. I mean, that was a big fear. And when you told me just to try eating whatever I wanted to, or maybe you start with one or two things. Well,
Sure.
I had went out to eat with my friends and didn't say anything to them. Of course, they were used to me helping me to find something on the menu that I could eat.
Right.
I mean, there were times that I had the chefs to come out and say, I hear you're having all these issues with food. What can I fix you? I
Right.
mean, and that was really, you know, that was really kind of depressing.
Well, it's super nice that they would do it, but then it leaves you feeling very broken that I need
Yeah,
custom.
I felt very broken, and then I'd have to get up from the table and I'd go to the ladies' room and just start crying because I'm thinking this is just not
Awful.
it's not fun. It's not this is not
Right. So
so.
when you
Okay,
started eating food, you went out with some friends and you ate
yeah,
some normal stuff?
I order normal stuff now. Mind you, I've never been one to eat spicy food, so that was not an issue. But if you eliminate acidic food, oh my goodness, do you know what that eliminates?
Like 50% of foods?
Oh my gosh, it was unreal. So yeah, um, I ordered a sandwich, but it had tomato sauce. I don't know. There was stuff on there that I normally would not have ordered,
Right.
and I ate it, and everybody was just kind of looking at me. I go, don't say anything. I didn't want to talk. I just don't want to talk about it. And I come home, and now, mind you, my pain was there,
Mhm.
but it did not skyrocket. I thought when I would go off and eat those foods that I would just be in
Agony. Yeah.
an agony of pain and level of 10, but I wasn't. It didn't change. It didn't change the pain level.
Yeah. I remember you telling me that in the group. And then
Yeah.
it's like, well, if it's not making it any worse, then eat what you want.
Yeah. I mean, that was pretty amazing.
Cool.
Of course, then I started thinking about, okay, how long have I been doing this? I mean, at least 5 to 6 years of
Mhm.
not eating anything. And in 2019, I guess my immune system was so down that I got bacterial pneumonia, was
Wow.
in the hospital. And of course, the diet I was on, I had, I started off at 120 when all this started, got down to 112. When I got pneumonia, I went down to 99 pounds.
Wow.
Now my doctors
Getting
their
worried.
ears were perking up. Okay, something's got to change. So anyway, now I'm 130. So, oh
Some of
go
the other
figure.
group members who could, over their food limitations, put on some weight, and they've never been happier.
Oh, I
They're
know.
like, I
It's
got a
such a,
little extra weight on me, and they're thrilled because they can eat whatever they want.
yeah, it is. It's one of those things. Let's see, you asked me a question about something and I done got sidetracked what you said. Um,
Um, just about, the progression of getting better. Like, so when did you start noticing the pain got better? I know you started introducing more foods and, experimenting and taking adventures with foods, which was,
yeah,
expanding there. But when did you start seeing the burning sensations start to settle down? Was it windows of time where it was much less and then it might come back up, or was it would shut off and then it would come back, or what was that like? Of
yeah. Well, I think it was kind of a roller coaster ride at first.
course.
Um, but I kept reviewing notes, watching your videos, and things would come back to kind of reiterate what I should be doing. I felt
Mhm.
like, I mean, it was kind of the work that I needed to be doing.
Yeah,
So for me, it wasn't all of a sudden, um, it was more of, okay, I learned now that if I stay calm and not let the fear come in, and I would find things to do, whether it would be watch a movie or
sure.
do Sudoku or a game or something like that, because it would take my mind away.
Right.
And all those little things like that was helping me to stay calm and not let that fear, yeah, just
Shift your attention,
yeah,
engage your
redirect.
brain.
I redirected what I was thinking about.
Mhm. Powerful.
I'm trying to think here. I did write a few things down that
So by doing all of those things, you noticed what? The flare-ups weren't as frequent or as intense?
weren't
Did you
as
start
frequent, and
feeling
the pain level was just way down.
awesome?
Yeah, I mean, because when I was dealing with it at first, I mean, my pain level, if I had an 8 level during the day, that was good.
Wow.
But after I started on your group and found the little things that helped, staying calm, knowing what it was, knowing that it was
That's
my
key.
brain working, telling, sending me signals, knowing that it was my nervous system that was flaring up because of something I was either thinking or something that happened, because I did realize that my personality,
Mhm.
as many other people that have these symptoms and pains, I'm a people pleaser.
Mhm.
I'm a fixer. I can fix everybody's problems. So I kind of learned like, okay, that's part of your problem, Linda. So it wasn't that I didn't care about them, but I started telling myself, live today, live in the moment.
Right.
Don't worry about what's going to happen in the future where you really don't have any control over it anyway.
Right.
Live today. If something flares up today, then redirect. Give yourself some kindness.
Mhm.
You know, if I had to lay down for a little while, lay down, redirect, find something, a distraction to of what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
So, and that really for me took practice, because practicing my thinking of what I was telling myself, that was the other thing. Start watching what I'm saying, because my brain is listening to every word that I'm saying.
Right.
If I'm talking negative, it's right there to
Mhm.
fuel the fire.
Absolutely.
So, um,
Yeah, I mean, or ask yourself, and anybody watching, just ask yourself, are the words I'm using and the behaviors I'm doing throughout the day, are they conveying that I'm actually okay? Or am I literally scaring myself by the
yeah,
stories I'm telling myself and explaining how my symptoms are in such colorful language that it's literally keeping my own brain scared of my own experience.
Exactly.
Learned
Exactly.
that that was not beneficial, and that by catching your language and saying, all right, we're not going to keep doing that. I'm going to engage my brain in something else,
Hmm.
something more interesting than thinking about your symptoms. Um, Over time, with practice, you mentioned that, but also with consistency,
Yeah,
things started
consistency
to
is
get better.
very, yeah, that's very important, consistency.
So
Um,
you left the group about 6 months ago. At that time, I know you were doing much better, but I don't think you were pain-free at that point. Is
yeah,
that correct?
that is correct.
So now where are you today?
Well, today I can't say that I'm totally pain-free, but my level of the pain, like maybe today, if I think about it,
I
because,
don't mean today, like, how are you lately?
oh, lately I do whatever I want to do. And if I have a little flare that comes up that I start feeling and I go, oh, just come with me. I know what it is. It's not hurting me. I'm not in danger and I'm not broken.
Okay.
So I would just go on about what I was going to do for the day. And then by doing that, it kind of took my mind off of it. And I just lived my life. So
Does it settle back down after you disregard it?
yeah, it does. I can't say that I ever get down to zero pain other than when I'm sleeping,
Mhm.
which I guess is good because I do need the rest. Um, but I don't feel like it's really pain. I guess if I'm thinking about where I started and where I am now, this low level of pain is nothing.
Yeah, I would even start to call it for yourself internally, your dialogue, not pain, but discomfort.
Yeah, that exactly.
'Cause that's a more accurate term for what you're
That's a very
describing.
good description. Yeah,
I have some discomfort once in a while, but it doesn't impact my life. I eat what I want. I know what it is. I call it out for what it is. I never get overly afraid of it.
yeah,
It never gets spiky high, right? And it
yeah,
by remaining calm and going about my day and engaging in life, it can do this and come back down.
yeah.
So that's
And I
wonderful.
think that's a hard point to get to of all the things for a lot of people, because I know when I first things were flares were down, when one occurred and the pain went up, well, I remember the first time it happened, I go, oh no, I'm going to be right back to where I started. That was my first thought. So then there's the fear, setting in. So after thinking of it a few minutes, I go, okay, okay, cut the fear, get rid of the fear, and stay calm. You know what to do. You know what Dan has taught you. Stay calm. And then I realized that it didn't last that long.
Right. What's your fear level surrounding this these days
My fear level is
compared to where it
probably,
was?
pardon?
Compared to where it was and these days.
Oh, it's way different. I
It's like a
mean, it's
non-issue these days.
not that I worry about it. I don't, if it flares up, it's just like it's not a worry. Like you said, it's more of a distraction or discomfort level. Um,
Right.
and I just go about my life. And and I think for a lot of people, they think that, I would think that the majority of people that do deal with chronic pain, they expect 100% pain-free
Hmm.
in their outcome. And
Right.
maybe some people do. I don't know.
I do. I,
But
yeah, I'm 100%.
yeah, but I feel like I would say that I'm probably at least 95%. So
Right.
I feel like that's good.
So one thing I will suggest is don't convince yourself that for you, you're never going to get to 100%.
Yeah.
That is still possible. And by deciding, well, I'm at 95%, I'm happy with it, so it won't happen. You say,
Yeah.
well, I've gotten this far. Look, that's proof that your brain was creating the symptoms in the first
Oh,
place.
for sure.
So if it can get from 100% to 95% better, 5% remaining, not even all the time, but like, you know, intermittent, then why can't it get rid of the last 5%?
Yeah.
So let's eliminate the doubt that you can't get completely better. And for anybody watching this who goes, well, she's not really a success story because she's got a little sensation left. I want to suggest very kindly that to go from the complete despair, limited diet, ruling her life,
Oh,
to complete rejoining life and doing whatever you want, eating for the most part, whatever you want, the things you like.
yeah.
You don't have an approved list. You go
No.
decide what you want to eat. So to get 95% of your life back and symptoms removed, um, I really don't want to hear in the comments that's not really a success because it is.
Yeah. Oh,
For anybody who is at a high degree of intense suffering, if you were to say, would you take 95% better? They'd sell their house for that.
yeah. Yeah.
It's
Well,
so,
even when I go to my doctor now, you know, they'll say, "Well, how's your burning mouth?" I go, "Don't need to talk about it anymore." I
yeah,
mean, I
what
just,
burning mouth?
yeah, yeah,
Literally, drop that term.
yeah,
Ask the doctors, like cross that off. I never had burning mouth. I had TMS, perceived danger pain,
yeah,
period. Burning mouth isn't a medical diagnosis. It's a medical label based
yeah.
on description of symptoms. It's a clinical diagnosis where people go, this is what's happening. And they're like, oh, that sounds like burning mouth. Is there a lab test for it? No. Is there a treatment for it? No. Then it's a
No.
medical label, completely a medical label. When
Yeah.
they go, we don't know what causes it and we don't know how
So,
to get rid of it,
and
then
I
you don't
think,
need the label.
yeah, for all the people that have pain and issues, it may not be pain, it may be other issues. Um,
Mhm.
when they go to the doctors, they're expecting to be healed. Well, I found that doctors don't have all the answers
No.
other than their answers is to treat the symptoms. Now, if you have a broken
Even,
arm or something
yeah,
like that or cancer, that's a different story. But if they don't have an answer for your issues and they can't find the cause, then you need to start looking elsewhere because I mean, I feel like I wasted probably
years.
8 years of if I would have come down with this now and gone on, I mean, that would have been 8 years of, that I feel like I pretty much lost.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people like that. What I'll encourage you and anybody to do is say, can't change the past. I know what's going on now. So should I experience the old symptom in any degree or even a new symptom, I don't have to panic. And no, I'm not starting over from scratch. You're not. You're starting
Yeah.
over from experience. And that experience says, don't panic.
Yeah.
Call it out for what it is. I know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because for the people who are new and maybe have just found this interview because you're searching for BMS, success stories, the core concept here, the root cause is the brain perceiving some danger. Now, in the beginning, you said, I wasn't scared of the dentist. And I know you weren't.
Yeah. It was,
This wasn't something that you consciously created through your thinking, but your subconscious, for whatever reason, came up with a symptom. And initially, was it as bad as it ever got, or it was less? It grew, right? It got more and more significant over time.
oh, yeah. Yeah.
So your brain perceived some danger, maybe by the dental work, maybe by this weird appliance in there that was probably designed to do something. And your
Yeah.
brain said, ouch. They took the appliance away, but the brain was still like, ouch.
Yeah.
Keep the alarm system on. And then we get caught up in I need to figure this out. And there's no answers. And the dentist is kind of saying, well, this doesn't make sense. Looking at you like, are you sure you're hurt? And next thing you know, you're caught up in the whole medicalization. You're traumatized by the medical system that looks at you and goes, we don't have a solution for you. Maybe I'll send you to a psychologist. And you're going, I'm not crazy.
I know.
Right. And so very common, but the perception of danger by the brain is what turns a symptom on. And before you know it, you're sliding down that chute into this whole area of, holy cow, I'm broken. Nobody's got answers for me. And that amount of continued perceived danger, this belief that I'm broken in some way and there's no answers, the fear just builds and the symptoms build. And before you know it, 8 years goes by like that. And you're still no better. So the cool part is, for anybody watching, there's an alternate explanation for your symptoms. The doctors don't always have the explanation. They
Mhm.
don't always have the answers. And so if you're a BMS person or even rheumatoid arthritis or any type of pain or any type of symptom, there's a way to tell if it's your brain creating it or if there's an organic, physically created problem. Is this PDP.com? And I'll put it it's always in the description of the YouTube channel videos. So
The one
anything
thing I
else?
want to add to that was
Please.
regarding the dentist is since then, since I've left the group, I continued and finished all my dental work. No flares, no nothing. So all my dental work is, I'm now back to my yearly checkups. And
Right.
so
And anything
finished
else that you were doing is all done.
all done. Yeah, the things that I stopped, because we were like halfway through it.
Yeah.
And so now that is all done. And I'm, you know,
Perfect.
that's,
Any words of advice for anybody who's on this journey
oh,
and struggling? Anything that you would do to encourage them or point them in the right direction?
well, I wrote down here, I said, everyone is different in their symptoms or their pain, and everyone's journey is going to be different. They need to realize this. You can listen to all these success stories, but everybody's is going to be different. And the length of everybody's journey is going to be different.
Mhm.
But I say to you, you can do this. You just have to decide. If the doctors haven't been able to help you, try the TMS or the PDP, perceived pain danger,
Perceived danger pain.
perceived danger pain um, method, because it's it's so simple, but yet there is work. You're not going to
We're
get through
teaching.
it without accepting the fact and then doing the work
Yeah.
and
And
admitting
the work is teaching your brain that you're actually okay
the
by
work is all
by
about
acting
teaching.
as if
Yes.
you're actually okay.
Yeah.
Thinking,
And
acting,
practicing.
behaving, speaking as if you're okay. Teaching the
Yeah.
brain, like, I'm not concerned, brain, you don't need to be. And when the brain eventually learns that lesson,
Mhm.
things can start settling down. And it can be as direct as, I'm out and about, I'm getting a flare up, things are getting pretty colorful, but remain calm. Don't panic. I know what it is. And that flare up went like this and came back down
Yeah.
pretty darn quick. So you don't directly control it, but we all have the ability to influence our symptom levels. And the way you respond to symptoms will determine if they're going to keep on going up or if they're going to
Yeah.
start coming down.
Because we can't, life is stressful and you can't change those stressful moments in your life, but you can change the way you respond to the stress that comes your way. And that's a learning thing.
Yeah.
And the anxiety. Um, but I think if anyone is in doubt and they watch your videos, but they're not maybe getting as far as they would like to be, I would highly recommend getting into your group
Yeah.
and even just learning from the other people. I mean, I don't know if I was in it. I don't know what your group is like now, but I mean, I felt like we had a great group, and I'm sure that probably still are great people in all the
It
groups.
rotates often, but the people are still amazing, very supportive of each
Yeah.
other, cheering each other on.
I mean,
Uh, it's
I
so
was in
nice
there
to
where
see
people were
smiling faces.
coming up with sayings and what they did and posting things on, and then we had a lady that wrote the poem, and then another gentleman took the poem and
Made a
come up
song
with a
out of it.
song,
Yep.
and then another girl that came up with an interpretive dance to the music. I mean,
We had
it
fun.
was some amazing people,
Yeah, really,
and
really good
just
stuff.
and just knowing that you're with people that understand what you're going through.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll point out is I didn't name it this, but a lot of people within the group itself began calling this their not the Pain Free You group, the Pain Free You family, because
Yes,
they
it's
felt
like a
close.
family.
They felt closer to the people in the group than they did to some of their own family members. Why? Because they understood what was going on.
You're right.
They were just like me. They just got it. And so, this pain-free you family um, is really a place where people can get the help they need to implement these proven strategies. And Linda, you're proof. You're proof
Yeah,
that this stuff is possible. You can go from, a scary diagnosis with no known cure by the medical establishment to better.
yeah,
95%, but like, hey, I think if I told you on day one, you're going to get 95% better, you'd be like, sign me up.
yeah,
I would love it. And
yeah,
don't sell yourself short. Start to think and believe that this can go too. This little bit of discomfort doesn't have to happen when I get stressed out. Just keep on with the process. Hey, I'm stressed out today, feeling some discomfort. We are recovered not when the symptoms are 100% gone, but when we no longer buy into and fall prey to the fear.
yeah,
This is a recovery from fear process because once we do that, symptoms take care of themselves. But just notice that story that, some people believe you got to get to 100%. Well, don't be one of the people that says 100% is not available. It is.
yeah. I don't say that it's not available, but and I would like to be there, so I will continue to think that. But
If you can shift your perspective and say, I'm open to it. It can happen for me. And notice if there's windows because you are 100% symptom free because you can
yeah,
sleep.
and I must say that I do occasionally think, okay, someday I this will be gone totally. So I
Yeah.
guess I
And
haven't really ruled it out, but
that'll
it's
happen when
just
you don't care when it happens or if it happens. And I
yeah,
think you're there. So I want to open up the option in your brain to say, I can feel even better. I'm feeling fantastic, but I can feel even better.
yeah.
So look, unless you've got something else, this has been wonderful. You did a good
Well,
job telling your story.
ask you a question. How's your book coming along?
Um, Finished up the manuscript, and that is with my publishing coach. And we're moving on to things like interior design, final proofreading, cover design, and putting the publishing schedule in place. So should be out this year.
Good, great.
And I
Um,
finally wrapped up the manuscript, which was a big challenge for me, but I got it done. So thank you.
it's great. I occasionally will watch a few of your videos, and it seems like I guess some of my thoughts are, boy, Dan is just he keeps improving. But I said I still find you amazing that you can do a video every day,
Yeah.
and you're just you're one kind of a guy. I mean, there's just not very many people out there that can
Well,
do what you're doing.
I got on a streak. A buddy of mine convinced me over 5 years ago. why don't you just do, a video a day on Facebook for a week and see what happens? And that was March of 2019. And once I got to like 20 or 50 or 100, I was like, well, I can't break this streak. And so now I'm, I don't know what the exact number is, but close to 2,000 days in a row that I've been doing a daily video. And I got people around the globe that are getting better just by watching the free stuff. There's other people who want a little bit more support. They join the group, and lots of people getting better. So I think
Well,
you will be my 80th, 80,
uh,
80th success story that'll be published up on the YouTube channel and Facebook. Um, so yeah, folks, this stuff works.
yeah,
It really does. And Linda is a testament to that. You went from really high degree of symptoms, a lot of despair, hopelessness, really thinking, holy crap, this is my life. And when you turned the corner and went mind body, uh, you didn't give up right away when it wasn't a solution immediately.
yeah.
Took you some
It,
time to teach your
but
brain,
it's not
but
just from the burning mouth, it's also anything else that I get
yeah,
symptoms. Um, the digestive stuff is, I mean, before I'd be like, oh, God, make an appointment with the doctor. I got to get in the doctor. Like, don't think that way anymore. Now I have a different approach about everything. Even my husband, I must say, who was always complaining his back going to the chiropractor, doesn't hardly go to the chiropractor anymore.
yeah. I mean, he saw
So,
your transformation, and so you know, have him listen to some more videos. The less the less significance we give to our symptoms, the less fear, the less attention, little to no concern. Shift your attention back towards living your life, make living your life more important than trying to figure out this symptom stuff. Teach, you're not healing. Teach your brain that you're actually okay. And for the folks in the BMS world, at this point, you've got a little discomfort once in a while, but the dry mouth, the tastes back to normal.
oh, yeah, no, I haven't had that in
Okay.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
So
it. Love it. Love it.
I still have the
So,
gastritis once in a while, but that's all just part of this. I think the stress, like you said earlier,
but
is
when you don't fear that kind of
no, I don't, and
symptoms.
I don't fear it anymore. Yeah. So that fear, that's only a four-letter word, but it's a big one of what it can do.
All right. Well, listen,
So
Linda, really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Um, yeah,
yeah,
it's been wonderful watching your journey, and I haven't seen you in 6 months, but it's great to check in with you and hear how well you're doing.
yeah,
Keep going, keep smiling, keep living life. Um, and thank you so much. Really
yeah.
appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for being the person that is sticking in there and helping so many people. I bet you probably can't even count the number of people that you've probably helped.
I have no idea. It's
Yeah.
impossible to know.
I mean, you'd probably be amazed
Well, I get
because your
comments every
system
day
works.
online, and I'm
Yeah.
very humbled by that. So thank you.
Yeah. And your system works. So I hope that someone out there is touched by what we've talked about today.
I'm sure they will be. Wonderful. Thanks again, Linda. I really appreciate you. Keep me posted if I can ever do anything for you. But otherwise, give a wave to everybody and
Okay.
thanks again.
Bye, everybody, and good
All right.
luck.
Take care.